Today's show is brought to you by Care.com. To save 30% off a Care.com premium membership, visit Care.com/gems when you subscribe. And it's also brought to you by HelloFresh. Visit HelloFresh.com and use promo code GEMS30 to save $30 off your first week of deliveries. Welcome to the Genealogy Gems Podcast. It's a show filled with family history research strategies and techniques, news and entertainment, and inspiration. And I'm your host, Louise Cooke. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Genealogy Gems Premium Podcast episode number 207. And this episode is the first of 2 a month. We've changed, as you may have seen in the Genealogy Gems email newsletter, which, of course, if you aren't signed up for and receiving, go over to genealogygems.com and get signed up for it. We announced this last week that we are going to a new 2-episode-a-month format. And this is just going to work out really well because, as you may have noticed, the episodes were kind of getting longer and longer. We had so much we wanted to fit in. And sometimes going well beyond 45 minutes gets to be quite long. You can't really sit in one sitting and listen to it. So we've decided to kind of break things up and give us a little more wiggle room with 2 episodes a month. So you'll be finding those episodes. They'll probably be running about 45 minutes or so. We give ourselves flexibility here, but they'll be coming out twice a month. And the current schedule, the way we've kind of got things lined up, is that the second Wednesday of the month, you get the first free show. The third Wednesday of the month, you get the premium podcast. And the fourth Wednesday of the month, you get that second free show. So lots of great things to look forward to. I am really looking forward to this new format. I've been wanting to do it for a while and love getting out and talking to you more often each month. And in today's episode, Mary Tedesco of PBS's Genealogy Roadshow is going to be here. We love Mary, and she's been here on the podcast before. She's going to join us to talk about her core research passion, and that's Italian and Italian-American research. And of course, you don't have to be Italian to benefit from Mary's expertise, because at the core of it all is, of course, great genealogy strategies and methods. We'll be talking about DNA, how she builds trust with the local people when she goes on her trips over to Italy and does her on-site research. And finally, some of her favorite memories of her many, many trips to Italy for genealogy research. We've also got a listener who uses Google to find her mysterious great-grandmother with a success story that she calls a game changer for her genealogy research. You're going to love that. And as the dust settles on the FamilySearch microfilm lending program, I have a few more updates on digital and microfilm record access. And a big congratulations to you. So we'll be talking about that as well. But first, I want to check in with one of our team members here at Genealogy Gems, and that's my daughter, Hannah. I know many of you have emailed me and asked me how she's doing out there on the coast of Texas after Hurricane Harvey. So I thought, hey, let's get her on the show and not only talk about the relief efforts that are going on along the Gulf Coast, but also her work on some of the upcoming videos that you're going to enjoy here at Genealogy Gems. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Lisa, or Mom.
You can call me Mom.
Okay.
It's so good to hear your voice. And you're back in Port Aransas, aren't you?
Yes. Well, we live about 2 hours from Port Aransas right now, just north of Corpus Christi.
And that's a temporary place, right?
Yeah. So we're currently displaced right now, and Ryan has to commute to work. So it's okay. We have running water and electricity. We live in our travel trailer, so we were able to escape when they had the mandatory evacuation.
How long were you there as the storm was coming in?
We left 2 hours before the mandatory evacuation signal went out. We were able to pack up all of our things in about 30 minutes. Sorry, Bella's scratching. You could probably... Hey, Bella.
Hi, Bella.
She's lounging.
Your puppy. The place where you were living was right on the water, right?
Yeah, we're a little bit more inland in the downtown area, but we are only a quarter mile from the beach. The island's very small. You can ride around your bike on it in an hour.
So what's the condition of Port Aransas now?
Unfortunately, it's very devastated. There is piles of debris and trash that are 2 stories high along the edge of the road. Most of the homes, businesses were destroyed. Only a few made it through. We took on about 8 to 12 feet of water. That's their prediction.
Wow.
Where we parked our truck, it moved about 400 feet along with another trailer with the owner who couldn't get it out in time. Yeah, it's been pretty shocking and hard to wrap your head around it, but everybody's working really hard to get us back to normal.
There goes Howie. Hang on.
Bella's like, what is that? She heard Howie, so she started barking.
You manage a gym down there. I know, give people instructions on how to do the stand-up paddleboard and all that, in addition to the work that you're doing for Genealogy Gems. But you said that the gym was destroyed?
The gym was condemned about 3 days later.
Wow.
It was just completely destroyed. The roof had caved in.
Tell us quickly about the relief efforts. What are people doing down there? I know that this is up and down the coast, but you're right there in the thick of things. How are they handling the recovery efforts?
Well, because we're on an island, we got hit the hardest with being in the eye of the storm. Corpus Christi restored power first. Rockport was completely destroyed, and that's neighboring Aransas Pass, which is where my work was. But right now, we're the last without power, and the recovery efforts have been massive. We are the last without power. We're the last without water. And there's still people living there because their home was destroyed. They have nowhere to go. And the Red Cross, FEMA, tons of different people in San Antonio has come down. They're bringing us food, which is huge. So we're working hard to clean up. HEB has donated. The Red Cross has donated. Trinity Church has donated.
As a mom, I'm so relieved that you guys are okay. And it's funny because I've seen you posting on social media with the pictures of what is going on down there, but you're also posting how you are continuing to work for genealogy. I saw you in your car. You were editing videos for us. I'm so happy, and we're thrilled to have you here on the team. Sounds like you're not going to be heading back to the gym anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't know when or if the gym will be rebuilt or if she'll relocate. Unfortunately, there is no buildings for her to move into to start the business again. So right now it's been great that I can edit video and I can do it anywhere. I have a little Wi-Fi device. But yeah, yesterday, because I dropped Ryan off, I didn't want to leave and add 4 hours to my drive. So I just sat in the car, rolled the windows down, and we parked at the beach. And I worked for a couple hours. And I went and made, Bella play around because she's been cooped up. It was just nice to have some normalcy again. It's still overwhelming to not have our home. That we were building roots there, and it's just very sad, but it is great to see everybody coming together to make it even better than it was.
Right. You lose a lot of that routine that we all rely on to kind of get through our days. It's really, really nice to see how they're just pulling together. We just published the Google Books video that she put together for us. I mean, we did it as a team effort. I record the whole thing, but sometimes I say, and you're cleaning all that up, aren't you?
I have a lot of fun doing it, and it's great to be a part of the team. I love cleaning up that kind of stuff and making it very professional so that the people listening, it's just easier for you to follow along and you don't have to hear the ums. But I notice it in conversations now, and I'm just like, oh, but I do it myself. So
you want to edit people as they're talking, right?
In real life, yes.
Well, and that's one of the things I think that we're trying to do that's a little bit different is you can just, there I said, see, certainly you can record a webinar and throw it out online, but if you're going to really listen to it and sit down and make time for it, you just want to be able to focus on the content. I love the professional polish that you're putting on it, and you're making them so enjoyable to watch. And you have a lot of videos in the queue. I know I've been filling up your plate, so thank goodness for Dropbox. It's amazing how many different tech tools we've been using to be able to stay in touch and that have kept you up and running with your work here with Genealogy Gems, which, gosh, you couldn't even done 15 years ago. I mean, we share our files on Dropbox. We're doing this over Skype. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of the people on the island who are kind of stuck in the 70s have been forced to do what we do now, which is work online. Not everybody can be online. I've been very fortunate to have some work to do and also to keep some normalcy in my life.
Exactly. We're happy to keep you busy here. You're doing some really cool work for us on the video front. And everybody listening will be seeing more on the YouTube channel. And of course, the full-length classes in premium. It's awesome to have somebody with your talents to help. Thank you, sweetheart. It is so good to talk to you.
Thanks, Mom. It was so great to talk to you, too.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Okay. Have you visited backblaze.com/Lisa yet? If you don't have cloud backup for your computer yet, everything on it is vulnerable to loss. Your pictures, your master genealogy database, files for work, the everyday business of your household. Losing all of that at once is as devastating as it sounds. That's why I did my homework and I found a cloud-based backup service provider. I chose Backblaze. It runs in the background 24/7, automatically saving copies of everything, including my precious video files. Did you know that some of the other leading services actually skip your video files when they do the backup? Hello, not good. And Backblaze is so easy to use. I love their free app that allows me to access all my files if I need to from my smartphone or my tablet. Most importantly, the service is totally affordable for real people. It's just $5 a month. So don't wait to ensure that all your files are safe. Do it now. Back them up like I do with Backblaze. Head over to backblaze.com/Lisa and get that $5 a month deal. Check it out for yourself. You could even do a free trial. That's backblaze.com/Lisa. Now, in other genealogy news, in case you missed the recent drama in the last couple of weeks of the FamilySearch microfilm lending program, here's a quick summary and really a great congratulations to you, all of my awesome Genealogy Gems podcast listeners. You know, back on August 22nd of 2017, I published a really special interview. It was with Diane Lusel. Now, Diane's the Director of Patron Services over at FamilySearch.org. And we talked about how FamilySearch was bringing to an end its microfilm lending program, and that was scheduled to end on August 31st. However, it was amazing. Just a couple of hours, I swear, after publishing the podcast episode, I started to get some emails from some of you. And many listeners told us that they were finding that they couldn't order any microfilms. And you can imagine, in the last week or two of August, everybody was in a rush to order microfilms. Of course, their goal is to digitize all of the microfilms that they have there in Salt Lake City. But it isn't possible to digitize all of them and make all of them available online for one reason, which is they don't necessarily have copyright privileges. They don't have permission from the original owner of that content to bring that material from microfilm into a digital format and then put onto a website. In legal terms, that's a whole different ballgame, and they kind of have to renegotiate that quite often. So there are some films that are only going to be available from the Family History Library in Salt Lake City. But the good news is, or was, that FamilySearch was allowing family history centers and affiliate centers to order the film and then be able to hang on to it indefinitely, basically to keep it. Diane talked about how that was being worked out with each center individually. But in the meantime, right after this interview comes out, it was kind of genealogy serendipity, but in reverse because it wasn't good. Usually genealogical serendipity is wonderful. It's how things just fall together in a way that you could never imagine. And it helps you find your ancestors. But in this case, things fell together in a way you couldn't imagine, but not for good because the ordering system completely had gone down. So after a couple of really compelling emails from some of you, I reached back out to Diane and said, here's the situation. Can you tell us what's going on? Because folks really want to be able to get their orders in. After some checking, she had gotten back to me and said, thank you. Thank you so much for letting us know because we didn't know that there was a problem. And it's thanks to you guys. I'm just the messenger. They were really pleased to be made aware of it, to be able to get it back online, which they did. And they extended the deadline for the ordering. So that gave everybody about another week and a half or so into September to be able to order the films they needed. So it's amazing how the GEMS community comes together. And, sometimes it's just about communication, isn't it? It's not that, anybody is trying to undermine anybody else or turn things off when they weren't supposed to. Sometimes we just can't assume anything. We got to go ask. And sure enough, they weren't aware of it. It's wonderful that it all kind of came together. So now it is past the September 7th final extended deadline, and microfilm ordering from FamilySearch is no more. So where do we go from here? Well, first, I want you to head to the show notes for this episode, number 207, because we've got some tips for you that I published recently about other options that you may have for accessing the records that you need in this post-microfilm lending era. And secondly, FamilySearch has reported a few important updates. First, all of the microfilm that's been rented in the past 5 years has now been digitized. So that's over 1.5 million films. From now on, if you need a film that hasn't been digitized yet, you can call FamilySearch, their support toll-free number, and request it for the priority digitization list. And that was one of the things that Diane mentioned to us was that, you can put in that request and that actually helps make a difference. It will put it higher up the list of priority to get it digitized. So it's worth doing. They will also continue to digitally scan 1,000 films a day. And gosh, that sounds like a lot. But at this rate, it's still going to take them until about 2020 to be done digitizing all the film. It's just an incredible collection that they have there. New digital images are being put in the FamilySearch catalog as soon as possible. And this is not the main search area. Okay, this is a really important distinction. It's not the main search area where you can search indexed historical records and you browse all the published collections. It's the FamilySearch catalog. So it will take collections a while to appear in the index, right? So instead, under the search tab, select catalog, and then search by place and record type or other categories. This is a master catalog of all the family history library's collections, offline and online. And when you click on items' individual descriptions, you're going to be able to see a link to its digitized version if it's available. If you're just going in and using that index, you're not getting everything. So be sure and check out the catalog over at FamilySearch.org. If you or anyone else had any films on loan in family history centers and FamilySearch affiliate libraries when the lending program ended, those automatically have extended to loan status. And that means that they can stay there indefinitely, as I mentioned, and unless the management of that particular facility decides to send them back. And if all else fails, you can still go to the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, Utah, and you can order microfilmed records to view, or you can hire someone to do that for you. You could even head over to Facebook and do a little quick search for random acts of genealogical kindness. There are groups out there where there are volunteers, many of whom are in the Salt Lake City area, who might be willing to go and look something up for you for free. So that's, there's lots of different ways to get help out there. And one final update. FamilySearch affiliate libraries, they now have access to nearly all of the restricted image collections, the same as family history centers. These are ones you may not be able to see from home. And Diane and I talked about that a lot in our conversation about the restrictions that are put on images and what exactly an affiliate library is. So head to the show notes for this episode. If you are just getting up to speed on this topic and you have some films or images that you need to see, in the show notes, we're going to have links that will catch you up on all that FamilySearch news. The Diane Lucille interview, tips for accessing FamilySearch records, and the most recent updates from the company itself. And here at Genealogy Gems, we strive to keep you informed about all the genealogy giants' websites. And FamilySearch is the free genealogy giant. Those genealogy giants are the top 4 websites, with the biggest collections, the subscription websites, and even FamilySearch, you have to sign in and kind of subscribe, but you can do it for free. Other ones you pay for. But they all have different strengths and weaknesses. We really strive to keep you informed about all of them. So we definitely want you to know about how to get the most out of each one. Ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage, and of course, FamilySearch. And if you don't already have your copy, you might want to take a look at our newest quick reference guide. It's called Genealogy Giants, Comparing the 4 Major Websites. This is by our own Genealogy Gems contributing editor, Sunny Morton. You can really use this guide to continually be aware of and tap into and compare Ancestry, FamilySearch, Find My Past, and My Heritage. Because the truth is, there isn't one website that's right just for you. It's which website is the right one for the research that you're doing right now. And we all know that in the different areas of our family tree, we need all different kinds of resources. Knowing what each one has and how to get the most out of it for the least amount of money and the quickest access, boy, it's really worth it. This is kind of one of those guides. I just keep it by my computer, and I'm always referring back to the Genealogy Giants guide. So you can get that at the store in genealogygems.com. Just click store. Now, my other big news, it just feels like, what is it with fall? That it's a lot of big news there. And I've got more coming that I can't even tell you about in this episode, but I'm going to do it in the next one. But in this episode, I get to tell you about this brand new live webinar that we are going to be doing September 23rd from New York City. I am going to be there at the Animoto corporate headquarters in downtown New York City. Animoto is sponsoring this brand new free webinar that we're going to be putting on for you. I'm really excited about it, and I'm just thrilled that they support us the way they do. We love Animoto and how they help us make amazing family history videos. Well, in this free webinar, and you got to sign up for it, even if you can't attend in person live, get registered for it so you get the replay, okay? You can watch the video as well. But if you're there live with us, we're going to have a really great time, and we're going to answer your questions live as well. So what's this all about? We're going to talk about how to reveal your unique story through DNA and family history. We're going to turn DNA results into family history. We're going to talk about some of the little-known options that are available to you. Diane Southard's going to be my special guest. She's your DNA guide here at Genealogy Gems, and I'm so thrilled she's going to be able to join up with me in New York to talk about turning those DNA results into a real family story. And she's going to be sharing some amazing stories of her own. And then I'm going to help you turn your family history into a compelling story. We are going to fill in the blanks with some really cool tools that you need to be using. Okay, and these are ones you may not have on your radar, but we want to get creative and we want to really fill in the context and bring the richness to your family history story. We're going to do that in this webinar. And then we're going to turn it all into a compelling story in video. Of course, using Animoto. It's my favorite tool, and you've seen some of the examples of some of the videos I've put together for my own family. We're going to show you how you can do that really quickly and easily as well. Definitely join us for this. It's going to be this free webinar, September 23rd, 2017, from New York. It's called Reveal Your Unique Story Through DNA and Family History. It's going to start at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, September 23rd. Go to genealogygems.com/webinar. You can find the registration for the webinar there, or you can head to the show notes for this particular episode 207, and you'll have a link that takes you directly over to the registration page for the webinar. You're not going to want to miss this. And I tell you, if we all show up and we really make a go of this, Animoto is going to, very likely going to continue to support and provide us a platform to bring you free webinars like this, which we would love to continue to do. Head over to the show notes or to genealogygems.com/webinar. Hey, do me a favor. Go to Facebook and put it on your Facebook page. Tell all your Genie friends. In the groups that you're involved with on Facebook, let them know that this free webinar is available to everyone. Well, that's my news for today, and right after this, we're going to hear your news at the mailbox. My mother-in-law lived alone in her home well into her mid-80s. We were really fortunate as a family that her daughter lived close by, and she had the desire and an accommodating schedule to check in regularly as her primary caregiver. But each person's situation is different, and there are times when you need help in order for a loved one to be able to stay independent at home. And that's why it's so wonderful to see a company like Care.com meeting the needs of families in all kinds of situations with personalized care. You know, in reading a report by the National Alliance for Caregiving and the AARP, I was amazed to learn that an estimated 40.4 million adults are providing unpaid care for an adult age 65 or older. At Care.com, you can find the personalized care that your loved one needs in the comfort of their own home. You can arrange for help with meals, errands, housekeeping, transportation, personal care, companionship, and more. And hiring an in-home senior caregiver can save money too. According to one survey, switching from care agencies to in-home care can cut costs as much as 50%. And at Care.com, you can also arrange for other types of help too. Help with pets, events, housekeeping, and more. We all need help, and Care.com is there to help you. I'm proud to have them sponsoring this episode, and you can save 30% off a Care.com premium membership. Visit care.com/gems. Check out this website. It is really a neat service, and you never know when you're going to need just a bit of help. Care.com/gems, and that gets you 30% off the Care.com premium membership when you subscribe.
Letter from my old hometown, one with some jokes from my old pal Jim Brown. Bring me a letter from that girl of mine, saying that she's longing for me all the time. Bring me a letter from my proud old dad, who knows that we are winning, and I bet he's glad. But more than any other, a line from my old mother. Bring me a letter from my hometown.
All right, here in the mailbox, I have an email from Kristen, and she writes, "Dear Lisa, thank you so much for your great advice and inspiration in solving my family's mysteries. I'm just a curious hack. I was never even very good at history, but I so enjoy your podcast and wonderfully creative ideas. Some time back, I attended one of your Google Talks at our library in Irvine, California, and it changed the game for me. You see, I've been in this alone since my mother and her siblings know nothing of their mother's history. There's so much drama that colors this rich history. I could compose a Greek tragedy of it. My grandmother lost her mother before the age of 2. An only child, she was then abandoned by her father in her teens and had been told that he had died. All she had to remember her history was the memory of her father's name, a very cruel and bitter stepmother who degraded her very existence, and a handful of unnamed photographs. She never really spoke of her sad childhood, save to say the stepmother would tell her that she'd always been unwanted and that her mother was unloved and the marriage was forced. She mentioned an Aunt Fern who was part of her upbringing in a positive way, but that was it. My mother never even heard the name of the very young woman who bore my grandmother and lost her life suddenly. The kids were not free to ask because in that generation, and because of their mother's sad personal circumstances, their curiosity would have been a nuisance. It simply was not their business. Among the handful of mystery photographs of my grandmother as a child and the strangers who sat beside her was a brief article from a newspaper. It was a lesson in manners, titled "Silence is Golden," and it was written by Merton Markert, a student of the modern classics. A photo of a young woman with a disheveled Gibson hairdo was attached. So I took your advice and Googled Merton Markert, Modern Classical Silence Golden. Up came the Lancaster High School Yearbook for 1905, featuring page 41, the senior class portraits with their course study descriptions and a small personal quote for each. There was that exact photo of her and the name Merton Markert, Modern Classical, with the quote, "Life seems a jest of fate's contriving." The whole yearbook has been digitized by Macavo, and it is the only yearbook for that high school in several years. My great-grandmother, who'd been buried in unspoken for 100 years, had reached out to me. She wanted me to find her. Lisa, I cannot adequately describe the feelings I experienced at that moment of discovery. You understand how a moment like that feels, I'm sure. The chills, the tears. I felt like I was staring into her eyes, reaching through a century of silence and finally able to acknowledge her sacrifice and legacy. On the football team that year was my great-grandfather, and the whole book was ripe with clues that still hold nuanced significance. From there, I was able to grow a tree on Ancestry.com and get the basics. But that does not tell you who the person is, the struggles, the character, the story. So taking your lead and thinking like my brother, the sheriff detective, I got creative. Using all kinds of searches and sniffing and turning over and under, I was able to uncover a veritable opera's worth of stories within this one branch. The cast of characters include a colonial founder, a secret bastard half-sister, a suicidal mother, a Klondike gold stampeder, alcoholics, a rejected Baptist pastor, a homosexual affair turned murder victim, a bona fide monuments man buried at Arlington, and a chorus of war veterans. And cancer. Lots of it. In fact, breast cancer was the reason for Merton's death in 1910. That kind of information is vital to my sisters and female cousins. I got the word out as soon as possible to encourage routine exams. I'm currently reviewing the Lancaster, Wisconsin local paper on microfilm through interlibrary loan and have since located the original article entitled Silence is Golden by Merton Markert. It was included in the June 10th, 1905 issue of the paper, highlighting the Lancaster High School senior class. So, thank you. My clever inspiration. Sincerely, Kristen, Merton's great-granddaughter from Irvine, California. Wow. I recognize that emotion that she felt. The moment that she saw her great-grandmother looking back at her from that yearbook, those moments are precious and meant to be savored. I wrote her back and with a suggestion, actually, that you may have heard from me previously, which was eBay. eBay.com. I did a quick search for that high school, and they had an auction lot for sale with a 1902 commencement program, old postcards, and other yearbooks. Who knows what could be up for auction in the future? She could sign up for a free eBay.com account, run a search, and then click to follow the search. That way, eBay will run the search on into the future for her, and she will be alerted to auctions that match her criteria. One man's junk is another man's treasure. So I sent that off to Kristen, and she replied to my suggestion with a quick and really sweet note. She says, "What a super idea about eBay. I'll check that out. Thank you so much for your positive inspiration and clever ideas. I love your energy and warm spirit. Your legacy reaches out beyond blood ties to families all over." And Kristen, that's why we do what we do here at Genealogy Gems. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know everyone listening feels very inspired. Thank you.
Bring me a letter from my proud old dad, who knows that we are winning, and I'll bet he's glad. But more than any other, a line from my old mother. Bring me a letter from my hometown.
So I've got to tell you about something that I did this week. I cooked up HelloFresh meals. Now, have you heard about these? HelloFresh is a meal kit delivery service that makes cooking so much fun. So these are meals that get delivered to your house in a recyclable box, and you get 3 in the week. So I got pork tenderloin a la orange, chicken under a zucchini blanket, and melty Monterey Jack burgers. I know, they were awesome. These were so easy to make. You can do them in about 30 minutes, which is perfect for me. You know, I'm so busy podcasting. And by the time dinner rolls around, I haven't thought about it, and I haven't gone shopping, and I don't know what to make. Deciding what to make for me is the hardest thing. And then when I finally do decide what to make, I get in the kitchen, I start making it, and I realize I don't have all the ingredients. It is frustrating. Here's the cool thing. They send you measured exact quantities that are needed. So there is absolutely no food waste. I don't know about you. I have to go to my refrigerator and throw out the stuff that's getting moldy every other week, because I'm not cooking that because I didn't have other ingredients. This is so neat, the way you just have exactly the amount that you need and you can whip it up. Now, I never thought I would ever eat kale, but this pork tenderloin meal that I made, it was kale mixed with wild rice with an orange vinaigrette, and it had fresh pecans, dried cranberries, all mixed together. And then you roast up the pork and slice it over the top, and then it had this amazing sauce drizzled over the top. I ate every last bit of it, as did my husband. I did not tell him he was eating kale until we were done, but he loved it. And he loved the chicken under a zucchini blanket. That one was just super quick and easy to make. I couldn't believe it. I really recommend this if you are busy, and in particular, if you're a household of 2 like we are. These are perfectly measured for 2 people. It's HelloFresh, delivered to your door. Right now, they're offering light summer meals, and they've just introduced breakfast options. I cannot wait to try that. So because they are sponsoring this episode, they are offering you, my wonderful listeners, a special deal. You can use the promo code GEMS30, and that's going to get you $30 off the first week of deliveries. So again, go to HelloFresh.com, use that promo code GEMS30. Meals are now less than $10 a week. So with this promo code, it's like getting a week for free. GEMS30 is the promo code for $30 off. HelloFresh.com. And now, as promised at the top of the show, my conversation with my friend, Mary Tedesco of the Genealogy Roadshow. Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for coming back onto the podcast.
My pleasure, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. As you know, I'm a fan.
Well, we are a huge fan of you. And are you on a hiatus right now from Genealogy Roadshow?
Yes, at the moment, we're waiting to hear back from the network. But as always, I'm an optimist, but we have to wait, of course, for their indication.
Oh, okay. So it's like that getting picked up each time, each season.
Exactly. That's, part of television or whatever. And, we just have to wait, of course, for word from the network.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a huge fan base, and I know lots of Mary followers, so I'm sure it'll be all good. We're looking forward to seeing more of it on our TV screen. It's so awesome to see genealogy on our TV screen.
Well, I really appreciate that. And, we're so grateful for all of our loyal fans. I couldn't think of anything better. So I appreciate each and every one of you who watch the show. Thank you so much.
I don't know if everybody who's listening knows, but you have been in the genealogy business a long time, and you stay very busy, even outside of all your filming schedule and traveling around the country. You do professional research and kind of focusing on Italian research, right?
Yes, I run a business called Origins Italy, Lisa, which focuses on Italian and Italian-American genealogical research. And one of the special things that we do is we go to Italy on behalf of our clients, and now sometimes with our clients, to conduct genealogical research, which is, one of the coolest things that I do, of course, besides Genealogy Roadshow. And it's a complete joy. And really by the end of each client project, I feel entirely absorbed in part of the client's family. And that's really special to me and very important to me.
Oh, I bet. And I bet that as you travel back to Italy, which I know you've done many, many times, you probably have lots of close bonds over there that you've built over the years. And I'd love to kind of take you back to your first trip to Italy.
Sure.
And thinking about, that's kind of a scary proposition for anybody, just to kind of head into a new country. You don't know what the reception is going to be. You know that you want things like access to records. And in fact, our book club featured book was written by Helen Stepansky, and she did just this. She went back to Italy. And of course, she was really trying to research not just her family history, but kind of a tough story within her family history. So tell me your story. What was it like? And what was the scenario of the first time that you went back? And how did it go?
Well, the first time I actually visited Italy, I was 16 years old, and I went with my parents, my sister, and my grandmother, who was, of course, born in Italy, and we went to visit our cousins in Rome. So it was really an incredibly warm reception, and a lot different, I think, than many folks that either may have lost touch or may only have distant cousins in Italy, because we were so warmly welcomed, and that what really inspired me to want to learn how to speak Italian. And being 16 at the time, as soon as I got into college, Italian was all I wanted to take, and that was all I wanted to do. And of course, inspired and fueled by my Italian-born grandparents, it just became something incredibly special to pursue Italian genealogy, because I was doing it not only for myself, but also for my family. And then eventually, of course, folks from outside of my family started asking me, hey, can I hire you to help with my Italian research? Can I send you to Italy to have you figure out my problem, my genealogical research problem? And I said, okay, of course, I would love to do that. And as always, I'm thankful for the support of early clients who really believed in myself and Origins Italy as a business. And we've been able to grow that client base, of course, and our service offerings to something that I'm incredibly pleased with and proud of as a person and as a genealogist. So it was a wonderful experience in Italy, and it continues to be that way.
Gosh, there's nothing better than having your passion be your career. Boy, you figured that out really early, didn't you?
Well, like all of our careers, Lisa, it was really an evolution, and I think it's so important for each person out there listening to just follow your dreams. I mean, find out something that really makes you happy. It's not just the thing that you're doing each and every day as a job, but think about, what can you do that doesn't feel like work, and then, as I like to give the field of dreams analogy, if you build it, they will come. So, if you do your market research and you find a good niche in the market and, you listen to your customers and consumers, if you build it, they will come. And I firmly believe that's true in many industries, as I'm sure you can back me up on that one, Lisa.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the idea that you already have a passion for it, that removes a lot of the fear and the unknown and things, because it's already kind of in your heart, right? So
it's really in my heart. And, with any business, there's, of course, a risk of being either a success or a failure.
Yeah.
But I think, some products work, some aspects of the businesses work, and other things don't. That's in any business. But you just have to really listen to what your clients and your customers and your colleagues are telling you in terms of an evolution. And you got to have, of course, a thick skin, because there will be people who say less than favorable things to yourself. But it's all about how you take that and how you grow from it as a person, as a business owner, and as a genealogist.
I love what you're saying. And, there are so many people who are listening who are thinking, oh, I love doing this. And don't you find there are so many different ways to be involved in a genealogy business? You do not just have to be a professional researcher. Look what I'm doing. I'm not actually doing the research. I'm teaching them. So, there's so many different avenues.
Absolutely. And I think that there are so many ways people with different strengths can really find their own in this business, in this genealogy business. We're seeing, of course, just to give one example, a tremendous growth on the field of DNA. So, of course, within that niche of our industry, there's a tremendous demand for professionals with a specialty in DNA technology, perhaps other avenues of testing and types of testing. I mean, there are just so many opportunities that some folks don't realize, who may be into science or, technology or something like that. I mean, genealogy in terms of online research is really a tech business. So if you're a tech person, there's so much opportunity for you in this industry.
How's that impacting your work as a professional genealogist? Are you taking on the DNA thing? Are you hiring that out to experts? How are you using it in your business?
Oh, that's a great question. So like many professional genealogists in our world, I am a complete DNA addict. I've just gotten back from the Genealogical Research Institute of Pittsburgh, where I took Blaine Bettinger's week-long DNA class. And because I, like other professionals, have recognized that DNA is a major component within our genealogical research. And I want to learn everything that I possibly can about DNA and how I can apply that to not only genealogy, but Italian genealogy, for my clients and for folks in order to help them. And I've definitely recognized, and it's pretty clear from the numbers of matches alone, that Italian Americans are an underrepresented group, one of the underrepresented groups within the DNA testers. You know what I mean? So I do what I can to encourage folks of Italian American descent, whether you're 25%, 50%, 100%, to test, because it really helps your matches and yourself discover perhaps the genealogical mystery. Of course, there could always be something unexpected, but it definitely helps in building that base of the database so that we can accomplish much more as Italian Americans with DNA research.
When it comes to a population like an Italian population, okay, so and many, many of these people, as I understand it, oftentimes we're in the same village for generations and generations. So yes. I'm guessing you've got some really good gene pools, if you will, some very pure ones. Now, in the area of Italian, I'm guessing it might be the same in other ethnicities. Are there really specific groups? Are they focused on trying to do more and more and more testing to build up the pool? Because as we know, the pools aren't as big as we'd like them to be yet. Right, exactly. And I think, we find that, I'm not familiar, of course, globally with the statistics for every ethnicity. So I'm not, pretending that I am. I am, however, more familiar with, the numbers in general and the statistics of Italian American testers. So I will preface my answer with that. But I can tell you that from what I've observed and heard from colleagues, there is an underrepresentation, within other countries in Southern Europe, for example, Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, in terms of not only native testers, but testers of that population in America. At this point, as genealogists, it's like you can only work with the records that you have, Yes. So, but the cool thing about DNA is that there could be additional testers, which mean, more records in terms of what you think, which we would not have for genealogy. I mean, either the records are there or they're not. With the case of DNA, the evidence or the kind of testers you need to build the case may not be there yet, but there could be next month, next year. So it throws a completely different dynamic into how we approach a research question. So I think, again, field of dreams is always, if you build it, they will come. And if we get the word out there, of course, Italian and Italy is very much on my agenda, but, there are other professionals out there that are also encouraging, those within their specialty to take DNA tests. And this is why I love talking with you, Mary, because you bring out elements and thoughts. And you touched on something here. Genetic genealogy, DNA, those are records. And it's easy in these early pioneer stages of DNA for people to get frustrated with there's not enough and da-da-da-da. But you're really describing it for what it is. It's this pool of records. And boy, look at the opportunity. Think about it, Lisa. I mean, look at third-party DNA tools, using
in terms of tools for analyzing the data, of, helping to group matches and so forth. I mean, we are really at the infancy, and there are some terrific tools out there that folks have been developing and are currently developing. I mean, the demand is out there for additional great tools tools with additional functionality that can, frankly handle, an incredible volume. Because if you just think about, if you're making a spreadsheet in Excel with 18,000 matches, I mean, on some people's computer, that may crash in a pivot table or something like that. I'm speaking from personal experience. So I mean, so there's an incredible demand, I think, for technology that can kind of handle this overload of data, because a lot of things we're doing in DNA right now is really data analysis. And I think there are a lot more tools that can make that more user-friendly. And there are great tools out there, obviously, as I'll reiterate, but I think there's a lot more opportunity for additional tools, for upgrades to tools, and so forth.
And one of the things that folks who are listening right now, they know about me is I'm all about data visualization. And I think that's an arena that DNA is going to really break into. And it's the same thing with genealogical records, being able to take things from pieces of paper on our desks to really combining it and creating a visualization that you can interact with on your screen. And it helps you see things in such a different way. Okay, We're going to take our genetic genealogy geek hat off, because I could do that all day with you. But
me too, Lisa. We could talk for
Well,
hours.
I heard your voice get excited. So we knew we tapped into a passion there.
I told you I'm a total nerd about that.
I get it. But I want to go back to something that you said about listening to your clients, and back to this idea of going to a foreign country for the first time to do some research. Now, the first time you went, you were somebody who already had some family over there, but I'm guessing there was the first time that you went for a client. And so now you're not going to, grandpapa's house to do something. You're going into maybe a village you haven't worked in before. And I'm guessing listening was a big part of this. And how did you build bonds and gain trust and make it through that first research trip in a really foreign village?
That is an excellent question, and a question that does come up quite frequently. So I usually preface the answer with the fact that there are over 8,000 ways to do Italian genealogy. There's one for every single little town, so over 8,000 ways.
Wow.
Within each individual town, there are different gatekeepers, honestly, to the records. There could be the priest, there could be the official or officials at the city hall, perhaps another priest at the diocese, or individuals working at estate archives and so forth. So basically, you go into a research location, you obviously want to call ahead and kind of take the temperature of, the individual who's the keeper of the records. And, you begin, to ask questions, what records do you have on site, whether it be the church? Let's take the church, for example. Would it be okay if I access these for a client? We have from the client what is called a delega, which is an authorization form, in a sense, from the client giving our company authorization to research on the company's behalf, on their behalf, rather. So we go in there and we say, so-and-so has given us permission to research their ancestors. From there, it's really up to that individual, whether it's, the priest or whoever, to say either, yes or no. There is a percentage of times when that individual does say no. And basically, we're the guests in that area. So we just have to say, okay, that's fine. But I would say statistically, the majority of the time, we're able to at least make an appointment with that individual. From there, we explain more, once we're on site, of course, and have the appointment, we explain more about what we're doing. And from there, it's, really a relationship deal. It's like, are you a trustworthy individual? I mean, frankly, does, the priest or whomever think that you're going to cause some kind of damage? I mean, it's really about a reading people sort of thing. I mean, I think, I like to think I come across as a genuine person, and the folks researching with me in Italy, obviously we maintain just our own personal genuity and just say, this is what we're trying to do. This client really wants to research for their ancestors, and that's really what we're here for. That particular person will let us know how long we can research there and, for how many days. And maybe it's an hour a day for a week, in which case we do multiple repositories in a day, or maybe they let us research there all day. So it's really a different scenario for each individual town. And that's why I tell people that, my life is different one day to the next. And that's something that I actually enjoy. But I'm really in the relationship business in terms of going on site to each individual town, because in a given research project, you might, encounter, 6 different officials, say you're researching in, 3 different ancestral towns for a client. That might mean 3 city hall officials and 3 priests. And it's a relationship business. And, you have to be very genuine and honest about what you're doing and about your requests. And, statistically, of course, success is far greater than unsuccess in terms of gaining access, of course, or else, it wouldn't be a business at all. However, you just have to respect the fact that these people, are the guardians, the gatekeepers of the records, and you have to be as respectful as possible for their time and whether they say yes or no at a given time, or, oh, come back next week. And so it just requires a lot of flexibility, a lot of patience. And of course, once you're in there, you have to research incredibly efficiently, because that may be your only hour to get the records, or, the 4 or 5 records or the 100 records that you need. So you have to be extremely efficient in how you work. And over the years of researching in Italy, I've now been to Italy 16 times, both for personal and professional purposes. But you really learn to become extremely efficient in the process of how you research. And as with anything, that continues to grow and improve, both with myself and as a business, which is exciting.
Yeah. I'd love, before I let you go, to hear one of your own personal stories. And I'm sure you did some of your own research over there as well, or maybe it was a story of one of your clients, and you don't have to share names or anything, but what are some of the things that you just walk away and you go, you know what, this is a keeper. I am not going to forget this. It touched a lot of people.
You bet. Well, I'm not sure about touching a lot of people, but I can certainly share a story of something that really touched me in just a wonderful way. I had the opportunity in 2013 to study, as kind of a language class booster in the Italian language for a month in Siena, Italy, which is, of course, located in beautiful Tuscany. Well, I knew that I had an ancestor who was abandoned as an infant in what was called La Ruota, which is a wooden wheel, and you basically turn it around, as a safe place for a mother or a family who could not care for a child to leave the child, in the care of a hospital or nuns or, some kind of charitable organization. So I knew that my ancestor had been abandoned in the 1850s. So I wanted to go to Siena, of course, to take a language class, but also to research this particular ancestor to kind of know more about her. So I chipped away at the research, 1 week at a time. So the 3rd week, I found some records regarding her abandonment and kind of where that was. And ironically, for 3 weeks, because this was on the 4th week that I discovered this information, I was staying just a few steps away from the piazza or the square that she was abandoned in. And I had been walking right in front of that exact location. And when I realized this, it really brought me to tears, because that was a difficult, obviously, portion of my family history that I don't know anything about the circumstances. But the fact that I had been just walking right by, like it was, like I was just living there, it turned out to be incredibly special to realize that I had been, literally in my ancestors' footsteps and not even really known exactly that was the place where that incident in my family history had occurred. So that touched me quite a lot. And I know a lot of other genealogists around the world have had similar stories of just not realizing that they were, 2 doors away from their ancestor, and they really were. So I think that's always special when we have an experience like that, to really walk in our ancestors' footsteps, quite literally.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely one you will never forget.
No, never, Lisa.
Oh, how wonderful. Mary, thank you so much. It's always such a joy to have you here, and I could listen to you all day, and I know everybody is really looking forward to it and reading for another season of Genealogy Roadshow, because we love to see those stories unfolding as well. Tell us again where they can reach you if they need to get some Italian research done.
Absolutely. You can check out my website. It's www.originsitaly.com. So that's origins with an S. Or you can, of course, just Google Origins Italy or Mary Tedesco to connect with me on social media, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever is your fancy. So thank you again so much, Lisa. It's always a pleasure both to listen to and be on the podcast. I'm a huge fan of the gems.
Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you. Have a great one, Lisa.
Battalion, attention. Right, dress, front. Right shoulder, arms, forward, march.
Hello, listeners. You have been drafted for the first Military Minute with Michael Strauss, discussing records that relate to military service that will help uncover hidden gems about the lives of our ancestors. One of the first records you may come across for your U.S. families are draft registrations. Now, these are civilian records, but they can provide clues to locate proof of military service. Draft records date back to the days of the Civil War, with the first national draft being signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. It was called the Enrollment Act, and it replaced the former Militia Act of 1862. This draft only applied to those men residing in states under Union control. On the Confederate side, there exists a limited number of records, and these will be discussed in a future episode. Now fast forward 65 years, during which time no draft existed, to the fighting during World War I. With the United States having officially declared neutrality, the Selective Service Act of 1917 was passed, answering the call to mobilize our military should the United States go to war. This draft consisted of 3 registrations, targeting all men between the ages of 17 and 45. The eve of World War II again saw the passage of another act, the Selective Training and Service Act of 1940, which again mobilized men should the war in Europe come to the United States. This containing 7 registrations. Now, genealogists don't need to visit the National Archives in person to gain access to all of these original records. Many of the draft records and registrations are available on Ancestry, on Fold 3, and FamilySearch. Some registrations are still in the custody of the National Archives in St. Louis, Missouri, while later records for those men born after 1960, these are held by the Selective Service System. Now, whether you're a seasoned genealogist or new to the hobby, all of us have heard family lore or stories, and this tends to be difficult to prove. In my wife's family as a child, she had heard that her great-grandmother, a woman named Catherine Felker, was married to 2 men at the same time. Her first husband, Clayton Lyme, had disappeared and died during the influenza pandemic, and that the marriage to her second husband, a man named Paul Stump, wasn't legal as no proof of a death or a divorce ever surfaced for her first husband. Catherine was raised in the Dunkard faith in a strict Lancaster County, Pennsylvania home, and this story was not widely shared outside of her family. Locating both men's World War I draft cards answered questions raised by the family as it steered me in 2 different directions. The draft card of Clayton Lyme led me to his death certificate and his cause of death from influenza, while the draft card of Paul Stump led me to his military service during World War I and his prior service from 1911 to 1914. Both draft cards listed the same spouse, which only served to validate the family lore that she could not have legally married both men at the same time. On a future Military Minute, we will revisit draft registrations with details about how he was classified, whether fit for military duty or with an occupation vital to the war effort. Next month, we'll muster in again as we discuss the compiled military service records essential to your soldier's life in the military. Until next time.
Thanks for joining me for Genealogy Gems Podcast episode number 207. Thanks to Sunny Morton for her help in curating this episode, and Michael Strauss, who gave us our brand new Military Minutes segment. Isn't he terrific? And thank you to Hannah Fullerton for stepping in and doing our audio editing while Vienna's on maternity leave. You can learn more about all of us at genealogygems.com, and you can register for the free webinar that's happening September 23rd, 2017. Go to genealogygems.com/webinar. We'll be talking to you soon from New York City. Until then, thanks so much for listening, friend. I'll talk to you soon.